Good morning, everyone. I see Alice, it's got snowing and blowing in Wisconsin this morning. And Sandra has a soggy Toronto. And RT, hello, how are you? Sheila, Rita, and Victoria, are you here? I hope so. So we see we've got a number of people coming in right now. And of course, we're going to discuss the weather. I was out gardening this past week and taking out all the buttercup weeds and still got a lot more to go. Good morning, Betsy and Debbie and Charlotte from California. Freezing in Colorado. Still that turning around. Well, it is, what's the date today? March 5th. I lose track sometimes as we're working through different things. March 5th already. Well, you still have the opportunity to have more snowstorms until mid-April, I would think. Good morning, Joyce. And Melinda. Oh, Melinda, so happy to see you here. Hope everything's going well. You're under a severe weather threat. Oh my goodness. Sarah, Central Illinois, just raining here. Pat, good morning from Long Island. How's the weather, Pat? Hey, Ruth, you made it. Fantastic. That is great. I'm glad to see that you're still participating with us. That is absolutely fantastic. Just keeping track here. There's still people coming in, so we'll just give it a second or two more, and then we'll go through a lot of stuff with perforations. Now, when it comes to perforation, many of us think we know a lot about it. And believe me, when I did a bunch of research on this topic, I was absolutely stunned and surprised about all the different things that you can do with a perforation. Hi, Vivian from Maryland. Hi, Roseanne from Gig Harbor, Washington. You're just foggy there today? I'm looking outside. It just looks like cloudy here. Excuse me. So I want to get going on this. So let's take a look at all the different things. Hi, Joanna. You're also from Long Island. I saw someone else, Pat. I wonder if you know each other. Vanessa, good morning from Northeast Illinois. Wow, fantastic. Now, as I mentioned, the perforations, there's so much to it. And most people, you think you just draw a line and away you go, use the perf tool and it perfs. Perfect for a straight line, but we've got a lot more we're going to add to it. So today is all about those perforation techniques. And before we get started, is there anyone here that has not joined us before? We always ask for new registrations for our webinars. We had advertising in the Creative Scrapbooker magazine to get people to register. Pat in the 50s and Overcast here. So if there's anyone new, just put a little yes in the comments and we'll make sure that you are well looked after. So people are still coming in. Okay, so let's get going here. I'll keep an eye on our chat just to make sure that we've got a few people or not. And Dee, good morning. So perforation techniques. Hi, T. So you are new. Fantastic. So one of the things we want to make sure, and I know everyone here probably already is, except our new people probably are not. We do have a group in Facebook called Bette Makes. We don't spend a lot of time there, but we are there daily, if that helps. And on our YouTube channel, make sure you do subscribe. It's Bette Makes Media. We're posting one a week. We have tips that go up there all the time. We post tons of stuff in there. All our training goes in there. We've got how many videos up there now, Tika? Do you remember? Like 600?
No, something like that.
Yeah, it just keeps going and going. And that's the 600 you see. And then in behind the scenes, we've probably got 200 or 300 more. So we've got over 1,000 videos up there. On Instagram, we are Bette Makes. And of course, our blog is bettesmakes.com. And we also have a Ko-fi shop. Ko-fi is called Bette Makes as well. So these are a lot of the places that you can connect with us. Now, I hope you're going to stay for the end. As usual, after the full presentation, we have a Q&A section at the end. And again, we have another nice little treat for you at the end. So you have to stay to the end in order to find out what that is, but you are absolutely going to love it. So it's time for you to upload Design Space and start a new project. And in case you don't know us, and T being one of the people, my name's Dr. Bette, and of course I'm a partner with my daughter, Tika, who you see here as well. We've both been crafting and designing our own makes for many, many years. Matter of fact, she grew up having to craft and do all kinds of things together. She's a professional artist and professional multi-crafter. She is one of those people that will see something new and interesting and tear it all apart and figure it all out and say, hey, can we do this? And then teaches me how to do it so that I can teach you. And it's a really great partnership and how we work that. Between us, we've developed hundreds of training programs, even written more than a dozen books. Tika is a fantasy novel author, and she is published on Amazon. I have a lot of business books up there, rather old ones. I have not updated them because of concentrating more on the crafting. But our goal here is to take you from what you know now to a place that will amaze you in imagining, designing, and creating your own stuff. And that's why we want to teach you a lot about the perforation today. So don't feel bad. As I said before, if you feel like you have enough knowledge, you really don't need what we're talking about. Don't worry about it if you leave. We are happy to have you here. We hope that you will stay, and I really would love you to stay. But if you have to leave, don't worry about it. We will post the replay. Now, here's what's coming up. We've only gone as far as March. We take information from you to figure out what we're going to do in April, May, and June. That's the next quarter. And then we will publish that and have a whole series of webinars going on for the next 3 months. And of course, we're perforations today. Next week, we're going to do a lot of things with recycle and upcycle. So save your tubes. I just took one off the paper towels. I don't use many of them, but I've got a paper towel tube, nice big one. Of course, the toilet rolls is another thing you can save. Save packaging, save cereal boxes, all kinds of things you can see through, because we're going to have a lot of fun with recycle and upcycle, of course, next week. And then this was a request about color palettes and more, working with colors in the side of Design Space and how to make sure they're going to work. We're going to give you a few tips and techniques on how to do that. And then we're going to add a little bit more that you can go beyond Design Space and finding a color palette picker for yourself. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. So here is today's agenda. We're going to give you an introduction to perforation cuts, the types of cuts that you can do. Believe me, there's not just one or two. There are a lot of them. And then there's perforation cuts we can do with the perf tool. I'm also going to show you how to do them without the perf tool. So if you don't have a maker with the perf tool, you have an Explore or even the original ones, and how you can play with that. There's so many different techniques you can use without the perf tool. And then, of course, giving you some ideas of designing your own perf project. So any questions before we get going? Looks like we are all good. All right, I'm going to move over to Design Space right now, because we really want to get into a lot of things we are going to do with the perf tool. But let me talk about a few little things before we get going. And I'm going to give you a nice little list. Don't worry about it. When you get the recording, you will be able to see this list is in what I'm giving you at the end of the presentation. So you don't have to take notes. We've given you a lot of this stuff. What you have to concentrate on is the little techniques I give you as we go through this. So we have a couple of pages of types of perfs. And I just want to show you one. So if Tika, you can just put the camera right on me for a second. And get me on the full screen here if you can. She's working on it. There we go. Can you see the perf on this? So that is not a straight line perf by any means. but it is a couple of little arrows that work through. Now you may wonder what kind of box this is. This is the Kodiak Power Cakes that I got at Costco. I thought this is a really cool little perf that we are working with. Okay, back to Design Space. Now, the types. There's the straight line that we all know about. It's a series of evenly spaced out cuts in a straight line, and those are the easiest ones to do with the perf tool, and they're the easiest ones to mimic if you don't have a perf tool. There's a curved perforation. So that is a perf that follows a curved path. And of course, with the tool, you can do that quite easily. And I have some techniques you can use to do it without that perf tool. There's an angled one where they use like little V's that go through as a perf tool. There's small cuts arranged in an angle. So those are kind of cool as well. There's a dashed perforation, short straight cuts creating a dashed effect. There's a wavy one, believe it or not. Continuous wave pattern for playful tearaway sections. That is fun if you have a kid's party or something and they have something to open up. There's a scalloped one, and that's using little rounded perforations forming a scalloped edge. So you can do a nice little scalloped edge one. There's a zigzag, something called a micro perforation. And these are really tiny, tiny cuts, like little pinholes that go through. Yes, the perf tool can handle them, but those pinhole ones are likely going to be used like on a sewing machine or something like that. And then, of course, the standard one, a wide one, a partial. There's a double line perforation. So that's two parallel lines that are pulled for the perf. That just sort of gives it the extra zest, so it makes it more powerful and easier to pull on. There's even a spiral or circle one that you can use. We also have a crosshatch perforation. That's a grid style perforation. And of course, all the wonderful tearaway tabs like movie tickets and that kind of thing that you go through. As you can tell, there are tons and tons and tons of things that you can do with a perforation. So that gives us actually a list of 16 different perforations that we can work with. And that is a lot. Okay, so we are going to start by making something here, and I've just got some circles and lines all preset here. I'm just going to move them out of the way. One of the things that you should do is maybe make a 6-inch. This is a rectangle. This is 6 inches, and you'll see up here the width is 0.125. That's an 1/8 of an inch. That is pretty standard for what you want to cut out of most things if you're not going to use a perf tool. We're going to build an envelope packet where you have the lid fold over, and then we make a perf to open it up. Now, this is perfect for envelopes as well, because what if you don't have a fastener or something to glue down and people rip through things and so on and so forth? You can actually make a perf on an envelope and then glue above and below that perf. So when they open the envelope, they just rip it open and it comes open at that point. So let us just grab a nice little square here. Let me just change the color. Let's make it light blue so we can see it. And let me just close this. I'll move these over to the side for a moment because we are going to use these a little later. Come on, move. There we go. And grab this one. Move that out of the way. All right, I'm going to unlock this. I'm going to pretend I am making a card here, or I'm going to make an envelope here. So we're going to have different parts and pieces that are going to fit here. So if our seed packet or our package that we're going to have is about 3 inches wide, so we need this 3 inches, I think would be big enough. So we want something that is 6 inches wide. And to make our life easier, I'm just going to make it 6 inches deep. And then I'm going to lock it into position. Now, the next thing I want to do with this, of course, if this is going to be a packet of some sort, we know we've got 3 inches by 6 inches. Maybe that is a little deep, but you'll get the idea when we go through and do this. Should have made it maybe 4 inches. Let me unlock that. I'm changing my mind here and make the height 4 inches. There we go. Just easier to work with. Hope everybody can see everything that's on here. Okay, so let's go back to our shapes. Let me grab that score line. And of course, we want that 4 inches in height. Perfect. Grab these two together. Let's align them center. Okay, that just gives us an idea of what we want. And of course, we're going to need some score lines across the outside edges here. So what I find if I do this now, I've got an extra score line here that I am going to need when we put the collar on. So I'm just going to make a copy of that one because I know I'm going to need one of those. And then I'm going to need a score line for the top and one for the bottom. And because we made this 3 inches, it's going to be really easy. So I'm just going to duplicate this one, duplicate it, and I'm going to change it to 3 inches. Hit the tab key, and then I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. I'm just getting these ready ahead of time, so I'm not messing around a little later. And I'm just going to make a copy. So I've got all my extra little lines here. I want to just group this together because if I mess around with this, things will happen, and we just want to make sure that we're okay with this. So what we're going to do is this is a package where we're going to have a tab at the bottom, a tab at the side, and across the top, we want to have something that we can fold over and then put the perf line right through the middle. So if you've seen a lot of the stuff we do before, we add those little tabs. I use the shapes here, and I just grab one of these again, and let me just close this. And I'll just make it a different color so we can just see. I'll make this one green just so you can see what I've got here. So we usually like these about 1/2 inch wide. So I'll make that 0.5. And we know we're 4 inches in depth. So that looks pretty good for one tab. And we'll get these ready in a second. Now I'm going to make a duplicate of that because I need one for the bottom. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. But this time I only want it 3 inches in height, not 4, 3. And there we go. We've got one for here. Okay. Design Space has decided to go to sleep for a second. So you have to bear with me for one moment in time while it's doing its thing and not behaving the way it should. It did this to me yesterday. It locked up. As you can see, I can't move a thing with it right now. So, oh, there we go. It's back in. I won't take this one. Okay, so that's this. It's up there. Really? That's interesting. It's not giving me a screen refresh, so just be careful on your own. Now that's interesting. There it is. It popped back in. All right, just be patient with Design Space. As you know, it does little things. They did a bug fix, but I'm not too sure how much of a bug fix it really was. Let's just move this down a bit. So the other piece we want is maybe something that comes across the top. I'm going to use a fairly square shape, but maybe a rounded rectangle at the top so I get some nice little edges that we can work with. So Trixie, you've had that happen as well. Yeah. All right, let me just grab this one. This is a rectangle. And let's click on our shape. So we can decide, we know the rectangle. Let's unlock it. Now, this is something that's going to be fold down and over. So we know we've got 4 inches to work with. So it can come down about 1.5 inches for height. So I'm going to make this 2, and there'll be a reason for that. And the width is 3 inches. But I'm going to make it slightly smaller. And the reason I'm making it slightly smaller is so when I get the fold over, I'm not crunching on other things and coming over, but it's very slightly different. So instead of 3 inches, we're going to go 2.85. So that's 2.85. Perfect. What I want to do is just eyeball this in here so that it looks, and you'll notice I'm dipping it down a bit. And the reason I do that is so it's a lot easier for me to then weld those two pieces together. So I've got this that I grouped. I'm going to have to ungroup it. I want to take these two pieces here. And what I'm going to do is simply come over to the combine menu, if you can see it here. And I'm just going to weld those two together. Generally, I take a copy of things. So I should get a little extra piece here, which is absolutely perfectly fine. I'm just going to grab it. And it always pops up to the front, which is, fairly annoying. So I'm going to send it to the back. So now, as you see, we have our score line here is still here. Now we kind of have our packet together. Now the other part is we want these pieces to fit inside of here. Now I can kind of do the same thing, but I prefer to cut the corners off when I'm adding tabs. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. And if you're using a thing like Illustrator, you can do that quite easily, but here you can't. So we have to go back to our shapes, and I'm just going to grab another square for now. And let's just close this up so we have some room. I'm just going to shrink it down. And I'm going to rotate this 45 degrees. And then I'm going to line that up this way. And then I'm going to grab a copy of it. And I'm going to line it up. So it comes right across that corner. No, I'm not going to get it that way. I got to turn it. I've got to want this one. Let's go back over here. I want it over here. There it is. Now I want a copy of it, but I got to change my angle here. So instead of 45, let's try this. Let's give it a flip. And we're going to flip it horizontal, flip it vertical, flip it vertical. Nope, doesn't want to do what I want it to do. Okay, so we're going to cut off that angle, and we want to cut off. You just got to make sure you know the angles you're going to cut off. It doesn't have to be perfect here. I'm going to cut off that angle. Let me just move this one out of the way so I can get to the other one. Okay, so I'm going to take this. Oh, I moved it. Just move it over here. Let me just grab that angle right there. I can grab this one. Go the other way. Come on. I'm right against the edge. That's why it's not working for me. Okay, let me just move this over here. I'll move this in a second. All right. I'm sorry, I got too close to the edge. Just coming over to the angles. Trying to get myself a nice little tab. Okay, so first thing, grab these two. Just want to make sure I've got it. Yeah, just fine. Okay, I'm going to just weld those two together. That's just so I can do some slicing. I'll grab this and slice. All right, I only want to get rid of this piece. I don't need this piece. I want to keep only the piece that's left behind here. So we've got a perfect tab. I'm going to do the same down here for this one. I think I moved that a little bit. Click, shift, click. Okay, combine, weld. Now this is the Bette method, so you may have a different method that you want to use. Just doing the same thing here. So I'm going to get rid of this one. Grab that. Grab that. And now we have our other little piece at the bottom. All right, any questions so far? We're going to put all this together, so just 1 second here. I'm going to pull these down so I'm not too far away. I'm going to align this so that it's easy for me to align this. We know this is 1/2 inch, so Let's take this little guy and let's move him to 1 and 1, 1 for X and 1 for Y. That just makes this a little easier. So I can see here that I've got to bring it approximately 2.75, but I needed it a 1/2 inch mark. All right, so we need 1/2 an inch at X. And I think it's 2.75 here. Let me just click away. This number's getting in the way. I just want to see. Okay, I can move this up just a little bit. You'll see it's hanging down at the bottom. So all I'm going to do is just my arrow key. Those little squares make it a little tough to see. I've got a little bit, one more arrow key, and I think we're good to go with this. So that is one way to do it. And this one, of course, we're going to have to align here at the bottom. I just want to get them so they are just slightly over. This makes a nice straight line. All right, we have nothing else in here. I can grab all of this together. I'm going to combine and weld. Now you're going, what has this got to do with perforation? Well, you'll see in a moment, because now we have the ability, of course, to grab this for the seed packet. We have our line that goes down the middle. We have our line that comes to the edge here. And of course, this is why we had all of these extra things, and you'll see they're popping in behind, and I'll fix that in a second. This one goes right there. I just want to make sure we have all our perf lines. Let me just click on this guy. We'll arrange him and send him to the back. And that looks pretty good. So let me group this so we don't mess up. All right, now we're ready to put a perf across the top. Now, the easiest thing to do is just grab, of course, a score line and change it into a cut line. So all I did do is come up here to operation and change this to basic cut from score. So I'm just going to make a duplicate, not of this. I don't want a duplicate of that. Sorry. It's this. Oh, I see what happened. This. We want a duplicate. So I'm just going to move this over and duplicate it a couple of times because we're going to need a few of these. I'm going to grab this one. Of course, the easiest thing here is to rotate this at 90 degrees. And then we can, of course, just bring it across and decide where we want to perforate the entire thing. So if I grabbed it here, I'm just going to increase its size just a little bit to the edge, almost to the edge. Now you don't want it quite on the edge, and that one went behind too. I thought I arranged and sent this to the back, but there we go. You can see just a little area here that I left open and a little area at the back. So you don't want it quite the same. So I'm just going to bring in Alt, and then we'll decide we're going to have it perf to about here. Now I can set those both up as perf lines, which is fine. The more difficult part is, okay, how do they grab a hold of it in order to open it up? And that becomes the bigger issue. So you want something that's going to poke out on one side or the other. It doesn't matter which one. And it's just like a little handle. So when they grab it, they can just pull it and grab it open. So, but the first thing we want to do is take these two lines, click, shift, click. All right, because I've got the Maker 3 hooked up, I better open it up and turn it on. You can come here to perforate, and you'll see you get your perf lines automatically. So let me just group this up. So I don't want to mess up with it. Now we want to add something where they have a little opening up tab with a perf. So this is an easy thing to do. And I thought this packet, we can work with it, and then I can show you other ideas of how we can work with it. So let's just grab a little shape. What can we do for a little pull tab thing? Maybe I'll use a little diamond. And let me just close this. Now, of course, I want the diamond to rotate 90 degrees. And then I can play with the size of it. So if I just want it to come into about here, right about the middle, I'm just moving things around. There we go. Now what I want to do, of course, is going to unlock this so I can size it the way I want it to fit in. So I want it to the top. I want it to the bottom. Maybe I don't like the diamond that much. Okay, I'm going to delete it. I don't like it. All right, I'm probably better with an oval. Okay. Now the perf isn't that big, so let me just unlock this. Just make it a little perfy thing here, a little round thing that we're going to put in here. And I don't need it very big. So I just need a little extra piece on here. Now you're wondering, why am I pushing that across that way? I just want to see what we can do with this in order. So we want to be able to weld this piece to the pieces in the back. Now I'm going to have to move the oval into the group. Should go into the group. Oval line, perforate, perforate. Okay, so let's go down here. I want it down here with this one, and this is starting to use. I want these two pieces together only, this one, and shift click this one. Now, if I make a mistake, we can go backwards on this, but I just want to combine and weld. And then I want to take that piece that we just created, and of course I'm going to arrange it and send it to the back. And now we have a little pull tab. Let me just grab all this together. I want to make sure we group it. So basically we have our first design ready to go. So when you make this, what happens is you fold it all in, and then when you bring the top down, you will glue just this piece and this piece down to the packet. But remember, you got to fill it first. So when you've got the packet there, you fill it once you've got these two in place and glued into place. And then you glue just the piece at the top here and this piece here to the other side of the envelope. So the only way they will get in is by pulling this tab. And then this little flap here will be what is remaining. So it's really easy to do. Now, what if you wanted something that was curved? Well, you can take something like this circle. Let me just bring this over here. I'll just move this down out of the way for now. You can do the same thing with the tool here. So if you want this whole thing to be a perforate, all you're doing is collecting the shape. Now it'll perforate all the way around. Now, one of the little things that you can do with something like this is maybe you want to add a little thumb mark at the top and just cut that out. So you have a cut line below and a perf in between. That will give you a great way to perf something as well. And then when we took some stuff apart the other day, that's exactly the problem we had. We had a perf around it. So you can do things like this, take a shape. Let's just grab a circle for now and just come up, make that little thumbprint through here. Let's just see what we get. I'm going to come here. It's two pieces, so let's just slice it. Got this. Got this piece that comes out. So now you've got your perf like this as well. But then you can add a cut line for your object that's coming through and cut that out. And that gives you a little perf with a little extra that you can work through. This will work on the, unfortunately, Rokio, no, because you don't have the perf tool. What I'm going to do is, obviously, I'm going to show you how to do all of this now without the perf tool. Now, there's a number of ways you can do that. I'm just going to delete this from my screen for now. So you can use the fine point blade in Cricut Design Space. Instead of selecting perforate, you choose the basic cut. And it will do the same thing, but we have to make the dashed lines manually. And you're saying, oh God, that sounds like a lot of work. It's a little bit of work, but it can be done. And we have to space the dashes evenly to allow for easy tearing. So that's one of the things. And we'll work through this. And then you group the dashed lines together, ensure proper alignment before cutting. Now you can also use a rotary cutter or a craft knife to do the same thing, is just that you are doing it from a template and you're making those, of course, little cuts all on your own with a craft knife. A little harder to do, but with other tools you can do it as well. Now, when I was younger, and Karina learned how to do this, Tika learned how to do this, we use a needle or a pin tool. We actually used a sewing machine to make our perfs on some stuff when we were playing around. But, you know, you can set so you have like a based stitch, so it is quite far apart for the tear or something just like that. And of course, you can use a scoring tool, and what you can do is score the places where you want the perf and then use a craft knife to come through and make the little lines on your own. A lot of extra work sometimes for some of those different parts and pieces of it. So what I'm going to show you today, of course, is using the fine point blade in Cricut Design Space. The other ones are rather optional and they are, you know, using other tools. But I want you to be able to do this in Design Space. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at just the plain lines here for the perf tool. Generally, when you're perfing, you want approximately, I would say, a 1/8 inch line and a 1/8 inch space. So just remember, you're going to use 1/8. I'm going to show you this to make it a little easier. So we're just going to grab a shape and we are going to make some small lines. So obviously we're going to use the score line here. And I'll show you a couple of ways to do this. All right, I've got a score line. I'm going to rotate that 90 so it's easy to see. And what's the width? Let's make this a nice even width. Let's make this 4 inches so we can see it a little better. Perfect. Now it shows this way, so we're going to have to change this from a score to a basic cut. Now we want to have everything approximately 4 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this one up here. I'm going to make a copy of it. I'm going to bring it down. This one, I am going to make it a 1/4 inch. Now I'm doing 1/4 inches just because it's a little easier to see when I'm doing this. If I moved this down to 1/8 inch, you wouldn't be able to do that, but you'll be able to go ahead. I'm just going to bring this up a little bit so we can see it. We've got the 2 4-inch lines. So I'm going to change this one to a 1/4 inch. So that's 0.25. Now what I want to do is I've got 4 of these per inch. So 4 times 4 is 16 of these. So I want simply 8 of these. So I've got 1 here, and I'm going to duplicate 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And what I want to do is just grab all of these together. I just duplicated it, and this is the way to do it. Allow the machine to duplicate it because you are going to be able to see what's going to happen up here. So I'm going to change this to a line, and I'm going to go align top. I'm going to pull away from it, and look at that. You've got this beautiful thing. It is separated by a 1/4 inch each. So now you have a perf line that you can work with because it's cut, no cut, cut, no cut. So that is a very easy way to do it. Do it inch by inch if you're doing the 1/4 inch. Now, if you're doing an 1/8 inch, that can be done as well. It's a little more difficult to do the 1/8 inch because the machine goes ahead and it does it in 1/4 inch pieces. So let me just grab this one. Let's make a copy. I'm going to show you the 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to make this one an 1/8 of an inch. So that's 0.125. It's way over there. Let me just move this over here. Now I'm going to go an 1/8 and an 1/8. So I've got 8 of these for 4. That's 32. So you can, maybe I'll just do a couple of inches of it. So I want 4 per 4, 8, 12, 16 of these. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I know you can't see them. I'm going to come down here. Where does it start? Go down to all my lines down here. Let's find the first one. That's those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this must be the first one. No, next one. This one. And I'm just going to do it shift click. I always start at the bottom so it's not jumping around, and that will make sure that I get everything going here. Talk and click is not working well for me right now. Okay, I've got all of those lines. I'm going to come up here to align, and I'm going to align them to the top so they come back up here. You can see them all. Just 1 second. Where did they go? Okay, let me group them. Did I group all of this? Okay, let me go backwards here. I can't see it. We're big zoom, so let me go back down here. I don't know where it went. That is awful. Okay, so let's go back here. Ah, there they are, right there. Okay, for some, I've got the extra line in the group, that's why. Okay, let me take this out of the group. Let's go back to this group. I've got my 1/8 here. It still brought the extra line. Where is that line? Where's this one? That is annoying. Okay, I'm sorry. This will happen to all of us, so. Okay, let me grab that first line. I'm going to find out where that line is. Okay, let me grab these other ones here. This is the fun thing you go through when you're not using the tool. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me just group those. And I have that extra one in there. Okay. Let's see this group. Grab this one, this one, this one. And this one. It's this one I want to move out of that group. Okay. So I've got this one in a group. I'm just going to move this out of the way so we don't get mixed up with it. Now I've got this group. I'm going to figure out where that other line is. This is the fun part. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Must be down here. Must be this one. It is. Okay, I'm going to pull it out of the group, so I'm just going to move it way up the top here. Okay, I'll just move it up there for now. I can move it out of the way. Great. I've got this group. And I should have added this one. I'm just going to pull it down. Add this one to that group. Okay, let's grab this together. We're going to align this to the top. Sorry for the thing. There we go. Now I've got the whole thing together. And I want to make sure I group that one. Let's bring our line together. And we're going to ungroup that one. Okay, so I've got my line. And this is just my measure line. Let me zoom back into this. There we go. So you notice that this one is a lot further apart in between. So a little trick here is you're going to take this. I'm going to ungroup it. My favorite thing to do. I'm going to grab these pieces. They're grouped. I'm going to ungroup those. Just the ones that are over the edge here. And I'm going to grab them. Okay, come on. Design Space is not behaving for me this morning. Okay, let me group it. All right. Let's grab the group. And I'm just going to bring it down to the edge here. Okay, it looks like a mess here, so I'm going to ungroup that. I'm going to grab all of these together. Just want to make sure we've got everything. I'm not going to group them at this point, but I'm going to align them to the top. So I've got all 8, and I know I want that 4-inch just like this. Align them to the top. Just going to move them over to the edge just like that. And from there now, what I want to do is align and distribute horizontally. If I click away, now I have everything 1/8 inch spaced all the way through. It has made it so much easier. So that is what you will use as your cut lines. I'm going to group this. You may have to watch this a couple of times. So that's what you will do. This will be your set of cut lines that are 1/8 inch apart and 1/8 inch cuts. And that will give you a perf. So I know it's a lot of steps. Okay, any questions about that? Now that's creating one of these. All right, let me zoom back out. Working with a lot of little pieces and parts, you got to move stuff out of the way, and I didn't move that top out of the way, so that was my fault. But now you've got a nice little perf line that you can use on your Explore. Whoop, I took that apart. You just want to make sure that these are grouped, and they are. Okay. I don't know why it came apart. Design Space is giving me headaches lately. All right. So that is one way to do it. Now, what if you had a curved surface? So in a curved surface, we have a lot of things that are going to not work as well. So for example, this is a curved surface, but we want, say, our 1/4 inch all the way around, and you don't have the perf tool. I'm just watching my time, make sure I've got enough. So now I have this piece, and I'm just going to move this out of the way for a moment. We are going to create something that's going to allow us to then create those perf lines all the way around. So what I want to do is I just want to take a copy of this, just move it over to the side so I don't mess up here. So we want to have these approximately 1/4 inch all the way around. So it is a matter of making a little spiral piece that goes around. Now this is double, and we want to center it around here, around the center of it, to make it a lot easier. So what I want to do is I'm going to duplicate the first one. And this is going to be a rotate, and I'm going to use 7.5. Perfect. So I've got one in place. So now I want to duplicate that one. It already has a 7.5, so I'm going to add 7.5 each time. So I've got 15 now. I want to duplicate that. 15 and 7.5 is 22.5. I'm going to duplicate it again. So 22.5 and 7.5 makes that 30. Now I'm going to duplicate it again. I know it sounds like a lot. So this is 37.5. I want to do this very slowly. Duplicate that. That makes this a 45. Now I know it sounds like a lot. I'm going to duplicate it, and this will be 52.5. And I'm going to duplicate the next one, 52.5. That makes this 60. Duplicate it again. I know, 67.5. And this one is duplicated, 67.75 makes this 75. Bear with me. duplicate it. 75, this is 82.5. And I'm stopping there. Now what I want to do is gather all of these together, and you can see them here. These are squares, and I'm just going to select them all. I'm doing it in the layers panel because I have a mess on my screen. It is the angle that's going to matter here. Now I've done this in 1/4 inches. So I want to come up here to align, and we are going to center these horizontally. And you're going to get a curve like that. I'm going to undo this. I want to do it at the bottom. So now, darn, I'm going to have to select all of these again. Why can't it just keep it the way I want it? Maybe if I group it, then I won't have to reselect it all. Okay, I'm going to group it, and then I can move it over here so we can see. Let me just get rid of this other stuff that we were working on, and I'm just going to delete it. I don't need the circle right now, and I don't need any of these. I just need the copy of this. This is now a group. So I want to cross these so that they are all aligned and they are going in a circle. So you're going to have to play with this just a little bit. I can't align anything while it's a group, so I'm going to ungroup it. I want to just grab all of these. So what happens if I align center? As you can see, I get a nice little design that's going around and around. This is what I am going to group. Now you may wonder, like, what the heck? Well, I'm going to duplicate this. Now look at the angle here is at 0. I'm going to duplicate this. And when I duplicate it, let's see, make sure it's still there. Where did the duplicate go? Okay, duplicate it. I want to make sure it's grouped. I'm going to give this a 90 degree. Now what's going to happen here is I'm going to grab all of this together, come back to align, and we are going to go ahead and center. It should center horizontally, no problem. No, it didn't want to. Okay, so let's undo that. I want to slide it into place here. You can see that's making a perfect spiral just like this. We want this in the center. So let's align center, see what we get here. That is perfect. Now you're wondering, why did we make this? Well, I'm going to grab this. I'm going to group it. I'm going to make a copy. Move it over here. Move it here for now. What I want to do is take this, I'm going to combine it, and I'm going to weld it together. Now what I have with this welded piece is a set of cutting tools. So let's go grab that shape back. Let's go grab that circle. And I'm going to leave these black for now, but I'm going to change the color of this one, and I'm going to grab it like this. Now, the circle is not going to do us much good on its own. We need to have a circle that is just an outline. If you use the outline from the shapes, I just want to warn you about this. This is not a shape. It cannot be cut. It is just simply an open-ended thing. You have to create your own with this. So I just want to judge the size that I want for this. I'm just going to grab it out. Say I want a circle approximately that size. You have to make your own thin circle for this to work. So I've got the one. I'm going to duplicate it, but I want to change the color just to a different color. This is so we can see what we're doing. Now let me just take a look at this circle. Look at the width is 2 point. Let's make these 5 inches. That'll just make it easier for us to work with. That's a 5 inch. So this one, instead of 5 inches, we are going to make it 4.85. Then I'm going to take these two together. I know this is long. I'm going to align this center. Now you see I've got a little edge around the outside piece. That will be the circle I'm going to use. I'm going to highlight both of them. I am going to slice them. Now I've got this one. I'm just going to delete the things I don't need, and I'm going to delete this. Next, I want to grab this. This is the welded one. Let me grab the welded one here. Let me make a copy of my welded one over here. Let me just grab it and duplicate it, and then I can use that. I'm going to align these, of course, center. That looks really good. Because I welded all these pieces together, and we know these are 1/4 inch, we can then go ahead and do a slice. So let me grab the slice here. Now I've got this piece. You'll see the slice piece that came out of it around here. That's a different shape. We don't need that. Now look at the different pieces here. Let me just grab this. Now this could be a cut line that you use just like this. It's got the little 1/4 inch pieces all the way around. But I also have these ones. So now I've got 3 different perf lines that I can use. And that would be with the Explorer. Now I use these as 1/4 inch wide, so it's going to cut these little squares. It just makes a larger perf. So if you made these little bars a lot thinner, these would be a lot thinner as well. I just wanted the space in between, so I can make my little cut light a lot smaller. So any questions? So that's how you would do a curved one and a flat one using the Explorer. So I know I'm close to the top of the hour, so I'm just going to go back to our PowerPoint slide here. Just 1 second. PowerPoint. I have so many different windows open. I can't see everything all the time. All right, let me grab our PowerPoint here. Another cool tip, pretty cool, so cool. Wow. All right. So if you don't have a maker, that's so easy to do that. It's just amazing. So we went through, we talked about the different types of perf cuts. We did perf cuts with the perf tool, just a simple example, but we built something right from scratch to go ahead and add some perfs for an opening. Now this comes to mind. Think about envelopes. You know, there's so many different projects that you can do, you know, like our tearaway treat holders. That would work. You could have like those sandwich bags that you make and you fold over, and you could have that all glued down and have a little perf, and of course, lottery style scratch off or prize cards. You could have little perfs. Think advent calendar. Just make your own advent calendar using that little tab thing that's cut out of the surface and pulling that through. And of course, you can make a regular ticket that way with the perf down the center, or a perf you make for, of course, your Explorer as well. Pop open confetti poppers, mystery tearaway bags. You know, there's tons of things that you can make with these. So that was with and without the perf tool, and of course, designing your own perf project. So easy to do. You know, what I can do. I spend a lot of time in Design Space playing around. Why doesn't this work? Can we do this? Can we not do that? I know Tika does as well. Sometimes she'll design the whole thing inside of Design Space with a little aid of Canva and all kinds of different things. So lots of fun with it. And so we've covered our perforations. And remember, next week we're going to recycle and upcycle. And I've got a couple of projects in mind, and I do a lot of research as well, but I'm finding research on a couple of the platforms isn't as great as it used to be. So, you know, just taking a look at things like Creative Fabrica, where they have lots of different things. I grabbed some ideas from there, just looking at what people are designing. You can do the same thing if you look at different tools like Vecteezy. Font and design bundles is another great place to look for some ideas of doing these as well. All right. A reminder about our digital kits if you don't have them already. April, of course, is a little ways away, but you have an idea of what's coming up in April. Our March one has just been released. So if you have your kits already, remember you can grab the March one right now. I think February is not live anymore. Is it, Tika, or is it coming down today?
It's coming down on Friday.
On Friday. So if you get your digital kits now, just go to digital kits. You will also get the February one as a bonus, and then one a month coming up. And there's a lot of fun. We play around with these a lot, and we make some really cool projects. And I was just working on the May and June projects for these. They're a lot of fun. So grab your digital kit if you don't have it already. Stephanie had a question here. Can you make a perf by just using a dash line? Design Space does not have a dash line. A score line comes out solid as a score. It is not a dash line. So if you have something that has a dash line, bring an SVG in, for example, that is a dash line. That will work perfectly. You'll have to experiment with it a bit. I noticed with some of the dash line things I design inside of Illustrator, if I bring them in, they become solid cut lines. So you would have to find something that is cut, individual cut lines, so that you can play around with it there. Now, I made that circle when I did the outside edge of it. I made that pretty thick, but you might want to make it a lot thinner. I made it like 0.15. You could make it 0.05, make it a lot thinner, so it just does a small cut. So there's different things you can work around with it. Another beautiful kit this month. Oh, Kelly, I'm glad you like it. All right, one other thing. You will probably get an email later tonight, but I'm going to let you know ahead of time. This is our March workshop, and that is on March 15th. We have these 6 projects, and of course, one of them is a guest maker. Jamie Matthews is coming in, and she's going to do one of these. I think it's the wreath. Is it, Tika?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's going to be doing the wreath, and she is only come in on our kickoff. She's going to come in as a live person on the wreath, and we're going to talk to her a little bit about her project and what's going on. And of course, we have our sponsors, which are prismstudio.ca, and we have Zebra Pen, which is zebras.ca for, and both of them have a .ca, but they both have a .com that goes with it as well. And it will transfer you over depending on where you are, .ca or .com. And of course, we have our Scrapbooker magazine, the Creative Scrapbooker. And I think the recent one, if you are a part, the recent one just came in. This is a beautiful little magazine that you can grab as well. And that's creativescrapbooker.ca, another .ca. But that's fine. They will all take you. They have US, Canada, and other countries where they deal and play with us. I call it play with us because Zebra Pen is amazing on what they have, and it's all over the place. You'll probably find it in a number of stores as well. Prismstudio.ca, when you go there, it'll show the shops where you can buy their materials through different craft stores all through the US and Canada. So lots of things going on there. But this is our March workshop. It is free unless you want the all access pass, which we have another, how many? 5 bonus projects in behind for the all access. So you would get 11 projects for, what is it, $19? I'm sorry, my brain's not working this morning on the pricing. I'm more into designing at this point. So it's a $19 thing if you want the all access, but this is free to attend. So just go there, grab your free ticket, and we'll have a lot of fun on the 15th. Now, this is not last but not least. This is your giveaway for today, and this is our perforation ideas. And I have a copy of it here. And of course, it is 12 pages of different perforation ideas. So go grab your free copy of this as well. Lots of free stuff going on, perforation ideas. And everything that I talked about today is inside of here. So all of the types, for example, we've got the types here and the types here on this. So that is our Perforation Ideas book. It's 12 pages long. And if you've missed other of our webinars, we give away something different at the end of every webinar. So you can go ahead and watch a lot of those. And we have, of course, the website where you pick up the StreamYard piece. You'll see the webinar replays posted on that page as well. So any questions? I hate that I will not be able to do this workshop with you guys. I have to get the pass. I'm glad you are, because you'll get 11 different projects with it. If you make a line slimmer, will it be a continuous cut? Slimmer, will it be a continuous cut versus a smaller box cut out? If you make it slimmer, it thinks it'll cut it twice just because it's so small. So remember, it becomes more like a fussy cut when you have the slimmer line. Or you can make it thicker. On the box that I have here, they have it a slimmer line, but you can see it's a double cut on the on my box of pancake mix.
You can also change your score line to a cut line.
Yeah, and just make it small, and that's what we were doing. So, yeah. Okay, once again, life is keeping me from crafting. Oh, that's not nice. We were talking about this morning just before we started here is, things get in turmoil around our lives quite often, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything family, it could be the surroundings or what's happening with your city or your general location. Crafting is something that should be a stress reliever instead of a stress maker. And that's why we put on these webinars. We want to relieve that stress so it makes it a little easier for you to move forward with it. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. And next week, we are going to play around with some recycle stuff. And I haven't decided exactly what I want to make with it, but I'm playing around with it. And yes, we can use toilet paper rolls. And I mentioned, from our paper towels, we've got a roll, but I've been saving little things you can see through. We can, just pick anything. As I'm packaging and looking at things, they're going, oh, Kleenex box. Yep, old Kleenex or Scotty's box. I save those with the round holes. Cereal boxes come to mind. I get a magazine in the mail and it comes in a plastic wrap. I gently cut that open now and save that plastic. So you can have a big array of stuff. And what we're going to do is play around and make some really cool stuff that we can use to cut on our Cricut machine and add to it beyond that. So I had to take a phone call while talking. Recommended perforation tool rather than the work around the shapes, straight line. So it is a Maker 3, and yeah, and Maker 4's come out now. So I don't know what the difference is between the two because mine has not arrived and Tika hasn't got yours yet. Yours hasn't arrived yet, has it, Tika? Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so we're going to be playing around with that. See what the big difference is. It's supposed to cut a lot faster. And sometimes I always want things fast. If you're making things to sell, of course, you're making bulk of them. You want it to cut faster. So we'll see what new tools or things they have to go with it. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And we will see you next week when we are going ahead and doing our recycle class. So we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.